I'm the real heiress everyone hates. The year after I was reunited with my family, seeing how all my relatives were taking the side of the fake heiress, I resolutely jumped off the roof. The next time I opened my eyes, I was back on that first night when they brought me home, inside the luxurious villa, just as in my previous life. The table was laden with seafood, the very kind that triggers my allergies. These are all their favorite foods. I clutched my aching stomach as I heard my own older brother yelling in my ear. "You're already giving us the cold shoulder right after we brought you home. You expect us to beg you to eat." The same line of questioning as in my past life. I know. If I didn't eat the seafood the way he wanted me to, his scolding would never stop. I swallowed my explanation. I'm the kind of person who hates hassle. So that night, I decided to sabotage my older brother's brakes so that he and his bike would plunge off the cliff. Never able to speak again, when the familiar scent of seafood wafted into my nostrils, I shuddered suddenly. The pain of his body being torn to pieces still lingered in his consciousness. Yet he found himself back on the very first day he was brought to the Zhou family. A gentle voice rang out. "Xiao Yan, today is your first day back. So Mom has prepared a whole table of seafood just for you. Go ahead and try some." My body didn't move an inch. It's not me who loves seafood, it's the fake heiress who's been living off my family for over a decade. I'm allergic to seafood. Zhou Mingzhu, sitting across from me, had tears in her eyes as she timidly urged, "Sister, I know you've been suffering for over a decade, and it must be really hard on you, but Mom made this herself. So just go ahead and take a bite." As soon as those words were spoken, everyone at the table turned pale. Now that I've been given a second chance at life, I've finally realized how different I am from the fake heiress. With just a few words, she can brand me as selfish. My family never had a very good impression of me to begin with. Compared to Zhou Mingzhu, who was doted on and pampered, I was dark-skinned and gaunt, with dry, yellowish hair. And I didn't have a single talent worth mentioning. Taking them out would only embarrass them. Right now, my family's dissatisfaction with me was written all over their faces. Perhaps because I hadn't said a word for quite a while, Zhou Yinghuai suddenly slammed his chopsticks down on the table with a snarl. "You're already giving us the cold shoulder right after we brought you home. You expect us to beg you to eat. It wasn't like we lost you on purpose back then. Who are you giving that look to? If it's exactly the same as in my past life, not the slightest change. In my past life, after hearing my biological older brother's rebuke, I was so afraid that my hard-won family might misunderstand me that I gritted my teeth and forced down a whole meal of seafood. I've had stomach pain for quite some time, and rashes have been appearing one after another. My relatives stood far away, looking at me with disdain. I hope it's not some strange illness. After living in the countryside for 17 years, I'm sure I've picked up all sorts of ailments. Why do we have to bring her back? Mingzhu is so great, we might as well just go with the flow." The last sentence was said by Zhou Yinghuai. As he said this, he was still standing firmly in front of Zhou Mingzhu, shielding her. In this life, I don't want to shortchange myself in the slightest. I looked up and stared coldly at Zhou Yinghuai's face. "I'm allergic to seafood. I'm afraid all these dishes are Zhou Mingzhu's favorites." Zhou Yinghuai's angry expression crumbled, giving way to an embarrassed look. After a moment, he said irritably, "You didn't tell us ahead of time. So how are we supposed to know? He really is from a poor part of town, has absolutely no manners. See, no matter what I do, they always find a reason to look down on me. In my past life, I didn't understand even though I was clearly the real heiress. The nanny was jealous that I was born into a wealthy family, so she took the risk of swapping her daughter for me. I was abandoned in the countryside just one day after I was born, and grew up facing many hardships. It wasn't until 2 years after I'd been taken back home as I clutched the notice of my newly diagnosed stomach cancer and looked back at my relatives hurling insults at me, then leaped from the high rise that I finally understood. I am a girl, so I have no right to inherit the Zhou family business. My worth lies in being a kitten or a puppy, striking a docile pose to please them, and, once I reach adulthood, marrying into a family to bring them strength. As for who is real and who is fake, they're high and mighty and couldn't care less. I furrowed my brow. I'm the kind of person who hates hassle. If I don't make any changes, I'll have to walk the same path I did in my past life all over again. Just thinking about the 2 long years of cold treatment from my loved ones and the false accusations from the fake heiress. I wish this whole group would just disappear. I abruptly pushed back my chair and head for the restroom. And he added, "Take your time eating. I'm not hungry." Behind him, Zhou Yinghuai was still shouting, "What's the big deal? If she hadn't told us she's allergic to seafood, how would we have known? He's as tight-lipped as a clam, not the least bit likable. Having Mingzhu in the family is more than enough. If we had another girl like her, the Zhou family would truly become the biggest laughingstock in our social circle." I acted as if I hadn't heard him. He went straight into the restroom and nimbly climbed out the window. In my past life, I lived in this villa for 2 years, so I know the layout of the security cameras like the back of my hand. I deftly dodged the security camera and made my way to the side of the garage. Zhou Yinghuai's flashy motorcycle was parked right there. Indifferently, I pulled out the folding scissors I always carried with me and cut through 3 of the brake cables. Only one remained, all alone. Then, crouching low, he crept back into the bathroom. There was a knock at the door from Mrs. Zhou, Xiaoyan. "Should I ask the kitchen to prepare some other dishes for you?" I opened the door with a blank expression. "No, thanks. I'm not hungry. Also, I'm tired, so I'd like to go get some rest." Zhou's mother nodded eagerly. "You came back in such a hurry, and the house isn't quite tidy yet. So why don't you stay in Mingzhu's room tonight?" No sooner had the words left her mouth than the tears welling up in Zhou Mingzhu's eyes finally began to roll down her cheeks in big, heavy drops. She stopped her brother, who was about to stand up for her. "Sis, if it weren't for me, this room would have been yours to begin with. So you..." I interrupted and said, "Stop pretending. I'm staying in the maid's room tonight." She forced herself to hold back her tears. I was already carrying my luggage when I stepped into the maid's room and slammed the door shut. Shut out all probing glances. In my past life, following Mrs. Zhou's instructions, I moved into Zhou Mingzhu's room. Her look of hurt caught everyone's eye, further fueling their hatred toward me. What made everyone feel even more sorry for her was that the next day, the diamond ring was missing from her dressing table. Everyone suspected that I was the one who stole it. After all, I'm broke. I can't even come up with a few dozen yuan. Seeing so many expensive pieces of jewelry in Zhou Mingzhu's room all at once, it was only natural to take a few. That day, Zhou Mingzhu bit her lip and, with a determined look, nestled in her mother's arms, her eyes brimming with tears. "If there's any jewelry or clothes of mine that you like, just take them." The ring was never found. In the end, the theft ended with Zhou's father slapping me 3 hard times. I was branded a thief. So in this life, I recognized my place right from the start. From behind the door, Mrs. Changguo still felt a shred of maternal love from Yue, still trying to persuade me. "Xiao Yan, why don't I find you a more spacious room to stay in?" I pulled the blanket over my head. "It's so noisy." It was clearly just an hour ago. I was standing on top of a tall building when Mrs. Zhou, her face contorted into a hideous grimace, screamed hysterically at me. "How could I have given birth to a daughter like you, selfish, greedy, and mean-spirited? If you want to jump, go ahead, no one's stopping you." Just as she wanted, I jumped. It shattered into pieces. It's probably pretty ugly. It was also because of that jump that I was transported back to 2 years ago, when I found myself face to face with these relatives once again. My heart, which had been filled with anticipation, miraculously lost all its longing, and I no longer harbored even the slightest hope for familial affection. The sounds outside gradually subsided. I heard the roar of Zhou Yinghuai's motorcycle as he rode off. His favorite thing was to ride his beloved motorcycle at night, when all was quiet, and speed along the nearby winding mountain roads. A cold smile played at the corners of my mouth. In my past life, I couldn't handle so many troubles. In this lifetime, let's just get rid of the troublemakers once and for all. Early the next morning, I heard Mrs. Zhou complaining. "Yinghui hasn't come home all night. and I can't reach her on her cell phone. I wonder which friend's house she's gone to this time. I let out a scoff, slung my simple backpack over my shoulder, and got ready for school. On the very first day after I was reunited with my family, Mr. Zhou had already transferred me to the private school where Zhou Mingzhu attended. In front of the shuttle bus, someone blocked my path. He frowned and looked me up and down. "Are you Jiang Yan? My own sister?" It's dark and ugly, not at all what I imagined. There was a hint of contempt in his tone. "It's Zhou Linfeng. My second oldest brother just got home early this morning." After all, Zhou's mother had called him last night to tell him that his younger sister had been found, but all he got was a dismissive, perfunctory response from Zhou Linfeng. "If he's coming back, so what? What's it to me?" I couldn't hide the exhaustion and irritation on my face. Rebirth means starting all over again from scratch. The contempt and ridicule of others, they flashed through my mind one by one, like a revolving lantern. I really don't want these bad memories to happen again. Just as in his previous life, Zhou Linfeng, full of himself, wanted to intimidate me in order to solidify Zhou Mingzhu's position in the Zhou family. Don't think that just because we're related by blood, I'll accept you as my sister. In my heart, only Mingzhu is my sister. We only have one minivan for picking up and dropping off, and it's too cramped for 3 people. So figure out a way to get to school on your own. Zhou Mingzhu stifled a smirk of glee and feigned hesitation. Second brother. This place is so far from school. If Sister Jiang walks there, she'll probably get there around noon. Beep. A taxi pulled up outside the villa and honked its horn, passing by the stunned Zhou Linfeng and Zhou Mingzhu. I said calmly, "I'll take a taxi myself." In my past life, I ran after the van, crying and begging them to take me with them. All I could see was the car's silhouette driving farther and farther away, until it vanished at the end of the mountain road. The day after I got home, it took me an hour to flag down a taxi willing to pick me up, and I rushed to school, arriving 2 hours late. I'm always the one who gets left behind. This time, I placed the order ahead of time as soon as I got up. The taxi arrived at the villa's front door at the scheduled time, more punctual than even long overdue family affection. My parents didn't give me any pocket money. I spent the little scholarship money I had received before transferring schools. If I could do it all over again, I would no longer have any expectations of my family. If anyone picks on me, I'll pay them back double. It's just like standing in my new classroom right now. My desk is covered with trash. In the past, I didn't dare speak up and confront anyone. I would just swallow my anger and, in an effort to keep the peace, quietly clean up the mess myself. But this time, I stared coldly at the group of mocking eyes before me and said indifferently, "Who did it?" A group of young men and women from wealthy families teased, saying, "At a prestigious school like ours, not just anyone can get in." Exactly. He looks so shabby, really dragging down our school's reputation. Mingzhu, you really are kind-hearted. That adopted daughter of yours is practically walking all over you, and yet you still spoil her so much. Surrounded by the crowd, Zhou Mingzhu smiled warmly. Don't say that, sis. I promised Mom and Dad I'd take good care of her. I narrowed my eyes. I never realized how pitiful I was in my past life. Mingming was abused by Zhou Mingzhu's biological mother for 17 years. This dove, which has taken over the nest, has been enjoying a life of luxury and splendor for all these years without a care in the world. I even deliberately remained vague when speaking to others, leading them to believe that I was Mr. Zhou's illegitimate daughter. If only she could disappear completely. Just like Zhou Yinghuai, there was some leftover millet porridge on the desk. I grabbed the cup and poured it all over her head. As Zhou Mingzhu let out a blood-curdling scream, I grabbed her by the collar and slapped her face repeatedly. Your own mother switched us at birth, letting you live a life of luxury for 17 years to the point where you don't even know whose child you really are. No matter how many designer clothes you wear, it won't change the fact that your mom is a maid and your dad is a gambler. Everyone around them looked stunned. Everyone hurried away from me, afraid that my slap might take a detour and land on their faces. At the same time, there was a murmur of whispered conversation. Zhou Mingzhu is actually the nanny's daughter. She acts all high and mighty all day long. But it turns out she's the fake one. Then what was the point of me following her around every day? Sucking up to her. You must be blind. Zhou Mingzhu, who had never experienced such a grievous injustice in her life of smooth sailing, ran out in tears. I felt a sense of relief wash over me. If you can't solve the problem, then get rid of the person causing it. A thoughtful classmate cleaned up my desk. But the calm won't last long. It was just after school, and I had just stepped out of the classroom. Zhou Linfeng stood menacingly blocking the doorway. Jiang Yan, did you hit Mingzhu? Here comes that troublesome person again. At this private school, Zhou Mingzhu and I were in our sophomore year of high school, and Zhou Linfeng was in his senior year. Among the young men and women from wealthy families, very few are willing to study. The vast majority choose to study abroad after graduating from high school to enhance their credentials. A fierce glint flashed in Zhou Linfeng's eyes as he looked down at me. The first time I met you, I knew you were petty and held grudges. If I don't teach you a lesson, it seems you won't realize your place in the Zhou family. In his past life, Zhou Linfeng had said the same thing. The reason was that I upset Zhou Mingzhu on my first day of school. On my way home from school, I was stopped by a group of thugs, and their fists rained down on me. After limping home, he was met with complaints from Zhou's parents. You've already messed things up this badly on your first day of school. Didn't you even know how to handle something as simple as relationships? The day before I was taken back to the Zhou family, I still harbored some hopes for my two older brothers. Maybe I'll become the Zhou family's favorite, too, won't I? Reality quickly shattered my beautiful dreams. The one everyone dotes on is Zhou Mingzhu, and I am the villainous female supporting character standing between them. She is the true heiress whom everyone despises. Zhou Linfeng had already walked away, soothing Zhou Mingzhu with gentle words. I took out my cell phone, sent a message to Zhou Linfeng in Zhou Yinghuai's name. My phone broke, so I borrowed someone else's. Please come pick me up in South City tonight. I remember my past life very clearly. To avoid drawing suspicion onto himself, Zhou Linfeng had never met this group of small-time thugs. I found that out when the police mediated the situation after I limped home to report the incident. That's why he felt he had nothing to fear. After sending the text message, I felt great. By the time I got home in a taxi, it was already completely dark. The house was a total mess. A nanny told me the young master was found after falling off a cliff, and he's now lying unconscious in the hospital. I covered my mouth and feigned a gasp. Oh, really? Then don't forget to make dinner for one less person. Is dinner ready yet? It's done. With no one from the Zhou family present, dinner went exceptionally smoothly. I finished my dinner at a leisurely pace, and only then did I have the butler drive me to the hospital. Zhou Yinghuai was lying in the ICU, hooked up to a multitude of tubes. Zhou's mother wept with heart-wrenching grief, sobbing intermittently as she lamented. I told you so, writing this thing is so dangerous. But Yinghui just wouldn't listen. Great. The doctor said he might be bedridden for the rest of his life. How am I supposed to go on like this? The locomotive was smashed to pieces. As long as Zhou Yinghuai doesn't wake up, no one will know it was a problem with the brake line. Everyone thought it was a momentary lapse of judgment that caused him to accidentally fall off the cliff. Zhou's mother glanced at me through her tears, then suddenly went berserk. Jiang Yan, that's your biological brother lying there in bed. Why don't you look the least bit sad or upset? Ever since I brought you home, haven't you shown even the slightest bit of affection toward your family? When has the Zhou family ever shown me any familial affection? The moment I set foot in the Zhou household, I was met with looks of contempt and disdain from the Zhou family. They thought I was stupid and clumsy, like a country bumpkin, and that taking me out in public would be an embarrassment and a disgrace. Even the nanny who replaced me and Zhou Mingzhu back then, who had passed away a few years ago, chose not to hold her past mistakes against her. For fear of upsetting Zhou Mingzhu, the 17 years of my life that were taken from me were, in their words, casually dismissed as a long-forgotten chapter of the past. I forced a faint smile. Mom, don't start crying just yet. My second older brother is missing. 2. When Zhou Linfeng was taken to the hospital, his mother couldn't catch her breath and fainted completely. Both of his legs had been broken. They were a bloody, mangled mess and looked absolutely horrifying. Zhou's father was shouting that he wanted to call the police. But Zhou Linfeng, grimacing in pain, stopped him. I can't report it. His voice was full of guilt. He was the one who brought the man in, but the stick ended up hitting his own leg. If the police were called, he wouldn't gain anything from it. In my past life, when I was hit, Father Zhou, without a moment's hesitation, chose to let the matter drop and, in his usual stern and authoritative manner, scolded me. If you can't handle your own relationships, what gives you the right to call the police? You're nothing but an embarrassment day in and day out. When it was his son whom he had raised who got into trouble, his first instinct was to call the police. That really is a case of double standards. Through the crowd, Zhou Linfeng looked at me and suddenly let out a hysterical scream. Jiang Yan, you must be behind this, it has to be you. I pretended to be scared. Second brother, what are you talking about? I don't understand a word of it. He kept shouting. It's me. But there's no evidence. After all, he couldn't figure out how I managed to get in touch with that group of thugs. Zhou Linfeng was wheeled into the operating room. Having lost 2 sons overnight, Mr. Zhou visibly aged. He stood silently in the hospital hallway, and after a moment, blurted out, Xiao Yan, Dad will throw a family reunion banquet for you. And then we'll find you a suitable marriage partner as soon as possible to provide the Zhou family with an extra layer of security. There was no family reunion banquet in my past life. I had longed to take my place in the Zhou family openly and honestly, and once asked, very cautiously, Dad, I want everyone to know that I'm the Zhou family's biological daughter. Is that okay? I had rehearsed these words over and over in my mind, but when I finally spoke them, my voice was as soft as a mosquito's buzz. I still remember Mr. Zhou's face turning suddenly cold and grim. The look in his eyes as he looked at me was, surprisingly, full of wariness and suspicion. Jiang Yan, you've only been back a few days, and you're already setting your sights on something that doesn't belong to you. Let me tell you, everything in this house belongs to your 2 older brothers and Mingzhu, with all your bad country bumpkin habits. The fact that you're even allowed to claim to be the Zhou family's adopted daughter is already a huge blessing for you. Stop coveting what doesn't belong to you. When the Zhou family came to take me home, they kept saying they wanted to make up for the 17 years of lost family bonds. In their minds, even though I've struggled through 17 years of life in the countryside, I still carry their fine genes. She should also be well versed in music, chess, calligraphy, and painting, and grow up to be as elegant and noble as a swan. Reality dealt them a harsh blow. The Zhou family regretted it. I regret taking me home. I regret letting others know that the Zhou family has a daughter like this one who's a disgrace to the family. Until the moment I die, everyone breathed, had a sigh of relief. With that weight off their minds, they were relieved that they could return to their peaceful lives of the past. I never expected that by being reborn, I would actually fulfill the wish I had in my previous life. But in this life, I no longer need the identity of a daughter of the Zhou family. Family ties that have gone stale are like moldy steamed buns. Even if you peel away the crust to reveal a still white interior, there's still nothing but trash. I turned my head away in frustration. If I refused, all I would get in return would be Mr. Zhou's angry tirade and his relentless determination to arrange a marriage for me in exchange for personal gain. Oh well, I can't solve these problems. Let's just figure out how to deal with the troublemakers. The venue for the family reunion banquet was chosen at the last minute. I was still wearing the evening gown that Zhou Mingzhu had carefully selected from her wardrobe. The pale yellow of the tender shoots stood out against my dark skin, making me look like a clown standing under the spotlight. I can't believe she picked out this dress, the one with the color that suits me the least from a whole pile of evening gowns. Zhou Mingzhu, dressed in a haute couture gown, stood among a group of her girlfriends, casting smug glances my way from time to time. From a short distance away, I could clearly hear them whispering to each other. Mingzhu, Is that the daughter your parents lost track of over a decade ago? She looks so tacky. You can tell just by looking at him that he's picked up bad habits out there. I really don't know why we even brought him back. Mingzhu. Don't worry, she definitely won't be able to take your place. So tacky and embarrassing. If I were her, I'd just stay home and never go out. I swallowed a small piece of cake. What I've always wanted is not to compete with Zhou Mingzhu for a position. No matter how much I argue with her, it's just two little kittens and puppies fighting over their owner's affection. What I want is power and wealth. Family ties and affection are all fleeting. The reason I jumped off a building so resolutely in my past life was precisely because I had been blinded by these illusory things. The rights I hold in my own hands are the best tonic for my life in this lifetime. I picked up a bottle of red wine, walked over to the group, raised an eyebrow, and asked, "Who's talking about me behind my back?" The group fell silent, and one of them a bit bolder than the rest said defiantly, "Did we say anything wrong? You grew up in the sticks. What gives you the right to hang out in our circlia?" Red wine poured down her head, and a scream rang out. As expected, the right approach is to address the talent issue. Now, I could no longer hear the sound of the cricket chirping behind me. Zhou's father's angry voice came from behind me. "Jiang Yan, what are you doing?" Even though the family reunion banquet had already taken place, he still called me by my old name, just as in my previous life. I was never allowed to change my name back, even on the day I died. I smiled mischievously. I'll take care of these troublesome people to reduce the trouble around me. But, Mr. Zhou, your trouble is here. A police officer hurried over. "Which one of you is Zhou Xiong? Someone has reported you for tax evasion. Please come with us." In this lifetime, I have never set foot in the Zhou family's study, but the Zhou family's financial situation from my past life is deeply etched in my mind. Making an anonymous report isn't that hard. All of the Zhou family's funds have been frozen, and their assets are being liquidated. All the wealthy families in the social circle who had been on good terms with the Zhou family were scrambling to distance themselves from them. The Zhou family villa, which had always been bustling, was now deserted and felt cold and desolate everywhere. Zhou's mother sold all her jewelry to raise the money needed to cover the shortfall. Even all of Zhou Mingzhu's valuable jewelry, clothes, and handbags were completely cleared out. Like me, they ended up with nothing. In the empty, desolate villa, just as the mother and daughter who were not related by blood were hugging each other and weeping bitterly. Mrs. Zhou looked up and saw my face, which wore a half-smile. She suddenly turned her anger toward me and shouted hysterically, "Jiang Yan, you really are a jinx. Ever since we brought you back, there hasn't been a single day of peace in this house." Her expression was truly hideous. It's just like when I was standing on the roof of a tall building in my past life, holding a stomach cancer diagnosis letter in my hand. Zhou's mother hugged Zhou Mingzhu and shouted at me. He stole something on his very first day back home, and now he's gone even further's learned to use his cancer as an excuse to scam people out of money. If you're so brave, go ahead and jump. I'll never give you a single penny. As I leaped from the tall building, I could still see her hideous face. Just like today, compared to the utter despair of the past, it is only now that I truly feel the vibrancy of life. Still, she's right, the Zhou family's current success is indeed my doing. Someone entered the Zhou family's villa. Zhou Mingzhu, who had been in a state of panic, seemed to have finally found someone to lean on. She burst into tears and threw herself into the other person's arms. Lin Mingyi spoke in a gentle, soothing voice. "Don't worry, Mingzhu. No matter what happens to the Zhou family, our engagement won't change." As he said that, he made a point of glancing at me. Looks like another troublemaker, just like in my past life. After Lin Mingyi found out I was the Zhou family's biological daughter, he went out of his way to get close to me, amid a romantic sea of roses. He told me with deep affection, "Xiao Yan, if it hadn't been for the mix-up, you would be the one betrothed to me. I want to set this right." Back then, I felt like I was the happiest girl in the world, in my 18 years of a barren life. He was like a warm ray of light, even though it stung like crazy, but I still reached out to grab it. Despite the burning pain, Lin Mingyi mysteriously pulled out a jewelry box, knelt down on one knee, and looked at me with his almond-shaped eyes. Xiao Yan. Today is your 18th birthday. So, will you agree to get engaged to me? He held the jewelry box up in front of me. I covered my mouth, stifling the joyful scream rising in my throat. Tears rolled down her cheeks. I took the ring box, nodded vigorously, and told him firmly, I do. The ring box was opened with a light, airy touch. There's no diamond ring inside. All there was a note written in a sweeping, flowing hand. It says 2 characters. The Joker. The Joker. I went from heaven to hell. A burst of laughter rang out all around. You can even hear the sound of the shutter clicking. My panicked and helpless expression was captured on camera, becoming evidence for them to mock me at will. Zhou Mingzhu laughed the loudest. It's been so long since I was brought back to the Zhou family. And she has gone from being nervous and anxious back then to her current state of calm composure. She knew I could no longer pose a threat to her position. In the Zhou household, I'm not even as good as a nanny or a maid. Lin Mingyi wrapped his arm around Zhou Mingzhu and, beaming with pride, took credit for his achievement. Did you like today's clown? Zhou Mingzhu was laughing so hard she couldn't straighten up. My dear sister, you've been back at the Zhou family for nearly 2 years now. Do you really think of yourself as the Zhou family's eldest daughter? Even if Mingyi were to marry the daughter of a housekeeper, he'd never set his sights on a hick like you. When news of this reached Zhou's father, he once again viciously slapped me several times and shouted, You have no sense of shame. Looking the way you do you really think the young master of the Lin family would ever take a liking to you? What kind of sin did I commit to deserve a biological daughter like you? That slap left me feeling dizzy and disoriented. But it's my stomach that hurts. I clutched my aching stomach. And Mr. Zhou found me increasingly disagreeable. Stop pretending. I hit you in the face. Who are you trying to fool by clutching your stomach? I took the little money I had and went to the hospital for a checkup. Instead, the results showed that he had advanced stomach cancer. The doctor told me, You're still young. Your stomach cancer has just progressed from the intermediate stage to the advanced stage. If you stick with your chemotherapy, there's still hope. I tried to ask Mrs. Zhou for some money, but she was so caught up in the joy of the 2 Zhou families finalizing the wedding date that she replied impatiently, It's just that the young master of the Lin family didn't take a liking to you, and now you've even learned to swindle people out of their money. Since you have cancer, you might as well die sooner rather than later. As everyone had hoped, I took the plunge, bringing my life to an end. His gaze returned to Lin Mingyi, who was standing right in front of him. I think I should take care of this problem before it gets out of hand. I returned to the first high school in the county town where I had once attended school. Just before I left, I specifically asked Zhou's mother for child support. The way she looked at me was as if I were some kind of disgusting piece of trash, with money on your mind all the time. It really was the right choice for the nanny to switch you and Mingzhu back then. The Zhou family is going through such a difficult time right now. Your father has been reported and is facing several years in prison, yet all you care about is getting money. I smiled openly. Mrs. Zhou, have you forgotten? It's been so long since you asked me to come back, and the Zhou family hasn't given me a single penny. I'm still a minor, so I need to go to school and make a living. My 2 biological older brothers and my fake adopted sister each receive hundreds of thousands in pocket money every month. I'm the only one who doesn't have a penny. It's as if I were a fairy who could grow just by drinking dew. No one remembers that I, too, need money to survive. Zhou's mother called a truce. The person stood frozen in place, a rare look of guilt crossing his face. I'm not like I was in my past life. I won't just keep all my grievances bottled up inside anymore. Until I left, Mrs. Zhou seemed to want to say something to me from behind. In the end, he just opened his mouth without making a sound. I returned to the small county town I had been away from for a month. In addition to preparing for the college entrance exam coming up in a year and a half, I also took the opportunity to compile information on the Lin family's illegitimate son. In my previous life, a month before my death, Lin Mingyi discovered that Lin's father had fathered an illegitimate child years earlier. A hidden gem. Even Mr. Lin's father didn't know about this. To secure his position as the sole heir, Lin Mingyi took the initiative to eliminate the person, even if he were a mediocrity. The Lin family would have no choice but to entrust the family to him. This time, I sent Mr. Lin all the information about the illegitimate child in advance. Email signature. It's Zhou Mingzhu. As I picked up my textbook again, I felt a sense of relief I hadn't experienced in a long time. In my past life, Zhou Mingzhu locked me in the Zhou family's storage room, causing me to miss the college entrance exam entirely. Watching others head off to the universities of their dreams, all that remains in my dreary, unremarkable life is a stomach cancer diagnosis. After I died, not a single member of the Zhou family shed a tear for me. Zhou Yinghuai spat contemptuously, but he didn't miss that night's motorcycle race, nor did he let it interfere with his securing 20 of the Zhou family's shares, making him the undisputed heir. Zhou Linfeng had already been abroad for a year. His words were peppered with a fair amount of broken English, but he simply patted Zhou Mingzhu on the shoulder to reassure her. She should have died a long time ago. She's got a habit of stealing little things, and she walks around with a sour look on her face every day, as if our Zhou family owed her something. Mingzhu, tonight I'll take you abroad. A vibrant college life is waiting for you. Zhou Mingzhu couldn't hide the joy in her eyes. She nodded obediently. Even my biological parents don't mention me anymore. 3 wonderful children are more than enough for them. I'm the odd one out. Fortunately, fate gave me a second chance at life, and I unexpectedly gained an extra year and a half to study. I was already among the top students, but after a few rounds of review, I jumped to first place in the entire school. With the 100,000 yuan in child support I'd wrested from Zhou's mother, I took the opportunity to go to the hospital for a full physical. Thankfully, it's just gastritis. If I take good care of it, it will heal gradually and won't develop into a cancer that could take my life. I put the Zhou family out of my mind and devoted all my energy to the college entrance exam, which I had regrettably missed in my previous life. On the day the results were announced, the whole school was abuzz with excitement. My score has been hidden. He was the top student in the city, the envy of everyone. After the reporter came to interview me, I suddenly found myself in the spotlight. Soon, I received a call from Zhou's mother. Her voice was weathered yet tinged with a hint of hope. Xiao Yan, I saw you on TV were the top scorer on the college entrance exam. You're really something. Mom hasn't seen you in a year. Could you come out and see Mom for a moment? I readily agreed to meet Mrs. Zhou. She looked several years older than I remembered. As soon as we met, she took my hand and cried with such heartfelt emotion. Xiao Yan, Mom knows you're the child who gives me the least trouble. Your eldest brother is in a coma in the hospital. Your second brother still can't walk, his legs hurt whenever it's rainy or cloudy. Your father is still in prison. And Mingzhu, she was kicked out by Lin Mingyi, who declared he would never forgive the Zhou family. Of all the children I've raised, you're the one who's made me the proudest. When I first returned to the Zhou family, Mrs. Zhou certainly didn't say that. In both her past and present lives, her words were exactly the same. I raised 3 wonderful children. You're the only one who's really a stain on my life. You've completely embarrassed me in this circle. Now, her 3 children have become a burden. I'm the only one left, the one she's proud of. I took her hand, which was now covered with callous sand, forced a few tears to well up. Mom, having your approval is something I've always dreamed of. I think the Zhou family is on the brink of collapse right now, and countless people are looking to take over the family business they've built up over decades. Now that I've come in first in the city exams, why not transfer the shares to me so I can take charge of the Zhou family? After all, I'm your biological daughter, and the fact that my last name is Zhou will never change. Zhou's mother hesitated for a moment. I know she'll definitely agree. After Zhou's father was imprisoned, she couldn't support the entire Zhou family on her own. As for Zhou Mingzhu, a little princess who was raised in luxury, the only thing she knows how to do is buy all kinds of luxury clothes and handbags. After the Lin family's illegitimate son was brought home, Lin Mingyi lost his right to inherit. He took out all his anger on Zhou Mingzhu. But now that the Zhou family has fallen on hard times, marrying Lin Mingyi is already the best option for Zhou Mingzhu, even if Lin Mingyi lost his right to inherit. The shares he holds would be enough to ensure he never has to worry about making ends meet for the rest of his life. The two of them kept bickering, but there's no way for them to break away from each other. The Zhou family had been gradually stripped of everything until only an empty shell remained. I'll fill this empty shell was Mrs. Zhou's only choice. Sure enough. She quickly nodded. Xiao Yan. The Zhou family business is your father's life's work. If you're willing to take on this responsibility. That's wonderful. I'll transfer the shares held by your brother and Mingzhu to you right away. Just wait until your dad gets out of prison, and then hand the Zhou family over to him. By the way, Mom will take you to change your last name. In my past life, I had been hoping for nearly 2 years to change my surname, but it never happened. In this life, I haven't craved everything, yet I've received everything I wanted. I used the excuse that I had to register at the university, and it would be inconvenient to change my name. I'll change it after I graduate. I saw a sheepish look in Mrs. Zhou's eyes. He turned and set off on his journey to pursue his studies. The road to entrepreneurship is not an easy one. While I was studying, I took over the Zhou family's mess. The title of top student in the city has brought me quite a few collaboration opportunities. But most people are still taking a wait-and-see approach toward me. How could someone who's just come of age possibly know how to run a business? But I'm in no hurry to restore the Zhou family to its former glory. I gave up all my profits and kept the Zhou family business running at a bare minimum. Then, gradually buy back the shares held by the shareholders. This went on until my senior year, when I finally became the undisputed head of the Zhou family. Power really is the best tonic for a person. The shadow of death from a past life gradually faded away. When I looked up again, I finally saw the first light of dawn. If only I hadn't chased after that elusive sense of family, my life would have been so much smoother. In my first year after graduation, I finally began to implement sweeping reforms at the Zhou Group. When the first 50 million came in, Zhou's father was released from prison. He's aged a lot. To my surprise, both sides of my temples were completely gray. When he saw me in my business suit, he didn't recognize me right away. It took her a long time, squinting to make out my features, before she was able to connect the fair-skinned girl standing before her with the ugly, dark-skinned country girl from her memories. He walked over and couldn't help but pat me on the shoulder. She really is my daughter, a natural at business. 4 years ago, Dad was framed and reported by a competitor. I thought the Zhou family would fall apart right then. But who would have thought my daughter was so capable she actually managed to turn the Zhou family's fortunes around. Now that Dad's back, transfer all your shares to me first. And then I'll find you a good family to marry into. I smiled and took a sip of tea. After spending 4 years in prison, he still hadn't figured out who had actually put him there. The tea has a delicate aroma. I slowly set down my teacup and blinked. Sir, who are you? Zhou's father's face turned bright red. His memory of me is still stuck 4 years ago, that quiet girl who stood there, too shy to speak. 4 years. It's enough to bring about a profound change in a person. Zhou's father was furious. What a rude country bumpkin, how dare you talk to Dad like that? How can the Zhou family be left in the hands of a girl like you? Hurry up and transfer all the shares to me. Even though your second older brother has trouble walking, he's still capable of shouldering the responsibility of the Zhou family. The Zhou family? I asked curiously. What Zhou family? This is clearly the Jiang Group. You must have come to the wrong door. Zhou's father's face turned deathly pale. He probably doesn't know yet. The day before he was released from prison, I had just officially renamed the Zhou Group the Jiang Group. In their past lives, they didn't want me to take the surname Zhou. In that case, I'll keep the surname Jiang, a family chat group where the whole family is present. In my past life, I never set foot inside it, even until the day I died. In this lifetime, Zhou's mother begged me countless times, but I always brushed her off with various excuses. We will absolutely not join. Family love that comes too late is worth less than grass. The Zhou family is very close-knit, and since my last name is Jiang, I won't go in and disturb them. Zhou's father forced a smile. Yen. We're family. Why are you talking as if we were two separate households? Aren't you doing all this just to win my and your mom's approval? Now, I admit that you're my best daughter. Does he really think that being acknowledged by him is something to brag about? I waved. Security guards swarmed in and forced Zhou's parents out of the Jiang group's main gate. Out of kindness, I reminded them once again. Get this straight. This is the Jiang group. Your Zhou group is long gone. It was only during the struggle that Zhou's mother suddenly realized what was happening. Over the past 4 years, the Zhou family's business has not been doing well. I just told her that business is tough and it takes time to really get things off the ground. So there wasn't much money to give her. She and Zhou Mingzhu scrimped and saved, selling off whatever little property they had left to cover the medical expenses for my 2 biological older brothers. All my hopes rest on my ability to one day bring the Zhou family back from the brink of ruin. When Ms. Zhou got back on her feet, it suddenly dawned on her. All of Ms. Zhou's wealth no longer had anything to do with her. Just as she was being dragged out by security, Zhou's mother screamed at me in anguish. Xiao Yan, I'm your own mother. Why don't you show any affection for your family? How can you be so cold-hearted and heartless? No. In my past life, I stepped through the Zhou family's gate filled with great anticipation and excitement, only to be met with your critical gaze and unrestrained insults. It was you who severed the family ties first. I stared at her, smiling wickedly. That's how you treated me on my very first day back at the Zhou family's house. I went to the hospital. I met Zhou Yinghuai. Now that I've been reborn into this life, this is the second time we've met. The last time was 4 years ago, when I was brought back to the Zhou family. He still lay quietly in his hospital bed, his body covered in tubes, looking emaciated. There was absolutely none of the arrogance and high-handedness he had displayed in his past life. Behind him, a voice gritted its teeth and said, Jiang Yan. It was Zhou Linfeng. He had a slight limp, but it didn't hinder his walking. The Zhou family went bankrupt, and his plans to go abroad were put on indefinite hold. He had no choice but to lie in bed day after day to rest his legs. It wasn't until I was able to walk again that I realized the Zhou family had fallen into my hands. He hates me as much as ever. What are you doing here? You're not welcome here. I pressed the bedside call button, and a nurse came in. I'm here to tell you that I won't be covering the hospital bills anymore. Zhou Linfeng stumbled as his slightly lame leg gave way. He looked at me in disbelief. The person lying here is your own brother. I turned around and interrupted. Don't go claiming random people as relatives. You guys have a real sister. Her name is Zhou Mingzhu. He's the apple of the Zhou family's eye. After saying that, I took out my cell phone and called Mrs. Zhou. The call was answered immediately. Zhou's mother's cheerful voice rang out. Xiao Yan. I heard from some people at the company that you went to the hospital to visit your older brother. After all, your sibling's blood is thicker than water and this is the first time you've gone to see him. I interrupted impatiently. I've stopped paying the hospital bills. If you don't come and pay today, the hospital is going to take your son off the ventilator. Before a startled scream came through the phone, I quickly hung up. The way Zhou Linfeng looked at me was like a poisonous glare. His hand trembling, he pointed at my calm face and said with utter loathing, Jiang Yan, how could I have such a vicious little sister like you? I calmly met his blood-red gaze. I finally asked the question I'd always wanted to ask in my past life. On the first day I was brought back home, why didn't you rush back to see me? Did you not want to see me? He choked on his words and turned his head awkwardly. I got held up by something else. It was the day after I got home, and even though it was clearly the first time we'd met, why didn't you let me ride the family's shuttle to school? This incident might have happened so long ago that it took him a long time to come up with a clumsy excuse, stumbling over his words as he did so. I just feel like Mingzhu has been wronged, and I want to. Oh. I was sent to the countryside and went hungry for 17 years. Don't you think I have a right to feel wronged? Zhou Linfeng's face flushed red, and he couldn't say a word. It was my first day of school after coming home, and even though I clearly hadn't done anything wrong, You had already rounded up some thugs the night before to teach me a lesson. So tell me, what did I do wrong? He no longer had any excuses to make. Look, I said with a bright smile. I clearly didn't do anything. Yet you've already labeled me as malicious. Well, I guess I'll just have to do as you wish and become a truly wicked person. Then, outside the hospital room, the rain had stopped and the sky had cleared. A rainbow arched across the sky, resplendent in its 7 colors. Zhou Yinghuai passed away the day after the hospital stopped making payments. Once again, I devoted all my energy to expanding our territory. This feeling of having power firmly in my grasp puts my mind at ease. On the other hand, Mr. and Mrs. Zhou came to the Jiang household every day, hoping to see me. It was just like in my past life, when I stood behind them, longing for them to take a moment to glance my way. But even after jumping off the high-rise, he still hadn't received it. In this lifetime, they won't get to see me either. They took Zhou Linfeng and Zhou Mingzhu with them and moved into a cramped attic in an inner-city village. Living conditions are rudimentary, and they struggle to make ends meet. Zhou Mingzhu soon found the filthy conditions unbearable. So she continued her affair with Lin Mingyi and found a way to get pregnant. They were arguing non-stop on the street, and Lin Mingyi pushed her away impatiently. This child is yours. It has nothing to do with me. Having an illegitimate child at home is already enough to drive me crazy. Can you just get the hell out of here? Zhou Mingzhu screamed, demanding that Lin Mingyi take responsibility. The child is yours. You have to give me 50 million. Otherwise, I'll make sure you're disgraced and ruined. Lin Mingyi spat out a hard spit. Do you think I'm afraid of ruining my reputation? If your own mother hadn't swapped you for Jiang Yan back then, I'd be marrying her right now. Not a good-for-nothing slut like you. If I had the Jiang family's backing, what would I have to fear from an illegitimate child? After saying that, he pointed at the Zhou family and began to berate them. You bunch of blind fools, you can't even tell a fish's eye from a pearl. If you'd chosen Jiang Yan instead of Zhou Mingzhu back then, you wouldn't be living in such poverty now. As he glanced back, he saw me walking out of the tall building. He stood there, frozen. Once he realized what was happening, his eyes lit up with ecstasy. Xiao Yan, is that really you? I'm Lin Mingyi, your fiancé. Do you remember me? Of course I remember. I pulled a ring box out of my pocket and shook it. Here, this is for you. Do you want it? A spark of delight flashed in Lin Mingyi's eyes. He took it with trembling hands. Xiao Yan, even though it's a bit rushed, I've got everything ready. We were supposed to be engaged. If it hadn't been for a mistake 17 years ago, how could we have missed out on all these years? The ring box was opened. There was only a crumpled note inside. The Joker. He froze. The joy on his face not yet fully faded. He really looks like a clown. I laughed heartily, then turned and got into the car. Zhou Linfeng hasn't seen me in a long time. He ran after the car, eager to say something to me. Xiao Yan. Wait a minute. I have something I want to tell you. What's there to say? Early the next morning after I returned home in my past life, he was sitting in the nanny's car, smugly watching me run after it. His nasty laugh echoed through the car. The shuttle bus didn't stop. My car didn't stop either. I heard Mr. and Mrs. Zhou complaining to each other. If I'd known Xiao Yan would turn out so well, I should have chosen her back then. It's all your fault. You insisted that Mingzhu would be a better asset to the family. Can you really blame me for this? When she first came back, she was dark-skinned and thin, nothing like the capable, fair-skinned woman she is now. The car left the group behind. I couldn't hear a single sound anymore. I furrowed my brow as I thought. Where should we go? How about it? Let's go watch the sunset. As the sun sets, a new day will dawn. The evening sky, as vibrant as a tapestry, must be beautiful.